Perfect. Thank you so much for joining, everyone. We'll start with a quick introduction. I am Div. I am the CEO of WizCommerce, where we're trying to build an AI operating system for distributors and wholesalers. Today, I'm joined by Nitesh, who's the Director of Innovation at Jaipur Living. The topic of today's discussion is automating order entry. As we all know, wholesale is messy. There are a lot of edge cases, and unlike direct to consumer, where all the orders come in clean via website, wholesale and distributors get orders from a wide variety of channels. We get phone calls, we get emails. Everyone writes. Buyers have their own ways of sending in orders. Handwritten orders is still a reality, and I'm sure a lot of you still receive some amount of faxes. So at WizCommerce, we're trying to automate this whole process. I will let Nitesh introduce a little bit about himself and Jaipur Living and just the context of his team before we start.
Thanks, Dev. Hi, everyone. This is Nitesh Chaudhary. I'm the Director of Innovation here at Jaipur Living. Jaipur Living, we are a wholesale home decor. Primarily, we sell area rugs that are handmade in India, and we sell across the world. And in the US, we are primarily into wholesale. And the way we approach our market is we primarily work with interior designers, lots of retail stores across the US. And we have a sales team that's on the ground in major cities in the US. And then we have an internal sales team that's here at the office. And with that, there's a lot of complexity in terms of how things operate because we do have more than 10,000 SKUs. And of course, with being in wholesale, you have a lot of repeat orders. So just trying to put everything together with a large team, things can be complex. And I guess that's why we're having this conversation in terms of why we looked at technology solutions to help us be more efficient.
And Nitesh, across these various teams that kind of input orders into your ERP, maybe you can talk through like what are these different personas that are kind of inputting orders today, and also talk a little bit through like what your ERP is and what the process of order entry looks like, status quo before you automated it.
Yeah. So of course, as I said, we do have a decent sized sales team. So of course, everybody in the sales team does enter orders, right? If they get it from the customers, they do. And then we also have an order management team that where a lot of the order entry, bulk of the order entry actually happens by them. They are based overseas, so they do a lot of the work. And then in terms of a tech stack, we use Microsoft Dynamics 365 as our ERP, which we implemented last year. It took us about 2 years to do that. So yeah, I mean, that's where that's our central base, and then WizCommerce is connected to the ERP.
Got it. Got it. Maybe we'll start with a quick poll, just so that we can see, where does everybody in the audience stack in terms of how they are doing this currently. Cool. While the results come out, Nitesh, why don't you start with like what made you sort of why was this important to solve? Like, why did you even think about automating data entry? I think a lot of people are okay with this is how they've always done things. So why should this be anybody's priority?
Um, okay. Okay, looking at the poll, right? So 86% manually typing orders into the ERP. Yeah, I mean, two things, right? So one is the as your business scales, right? And we are as a business, we are scaling, so more orders are coming to us, right? So first is that, assume if your size of your business doubles, then do you double the team that you have, right? That is a very expensive way of growing, right? That's one. And the second is customer experience, right? So if anything that you're doing manual, now customers expect when they place an order, let's say on Amazon, you see an order confirmation right away in your email. You see it online, you get an order number, right? So the customer expectations are also changing, right? So um, anything with manual entry, it of course takes you time to react, to look at the email, enter the order, and then acknowledge that you've received the order, assuming that's a completely clean order, right?
Yeah,
So uh, that's the reason why we're like, okay, something has to change in terms of how we look at things.
got it. And Nitesh, if I'm remembering correctly, there's about roughly 5,000 orders that are processed manually, and this is just one segment of your business. Um, do you, how much time do you think the sales team was spending on this order entry process, right? Like, because there's also a cost of sales team spending time on activities which are not kind of relevant to what you hired them for, which is making calls, adding more customers, or selling to customers.
Yeah, I mean, an order can take anywhere between 10 to 15 minutes, right? Assuming you have all the information, because you do have to check everything, put in the plug in the shipping address, SKUs, and all the quantities and all that stuff, right? So you're looking at least 10 minutes, if not 15 minutes, to put in put in the order.
Got it. Got it. Nitish, apart from sort of the cost, the time value of this, the fact that you will need to grow the team if the business kind of scales, is there any other cost of manual entry? Um, like you mentioned, customer experience is one such cost. Anything else?
Yeah, I mean, anything that you're doing manual, it's open for mistakes, right? So um, and sometimes the customer may just not give you the complete information. They may miss out on a zip code, and you enter a wrong zip code, and the order could deliver to a completely different city than it was mainly intended to, right? Um, so there are a lot of huge cost, hidden cost, I would say, that are burdened to. And like when a customer is emailing you an order, they in most cases they're not giving you an account number, right? And for us, they don't. Oftentimes we don't see a formal PO that comes in as well, right? So so there is a lot of issues for that's open for interpretation, right? Trying to find the right account number and assigning it to the right customer in the ERP, and then ensuring that you have the correct shipping, the correct SKUs that are being entered by the person who's manually entering the order.
Hmm. Got it. And Nitish, talk through the quality of orders a little bit, right? Because I think one of the things you hear most when you describe that this process can be automated is people are in disbelief because of the kind of orders that are coming in. So talk through some of the complexity that you found in your own orders that were coming in through this process.
Yeah, I mean, even I didn't realize how complex this thing was until we started talking and started digging into, okay, what it's coming through. But you get orders in an email that could be saying that order this, the blue rug in that design in this size, right? So of course there's absolutely no SKU, and then you have to figure out what the customer means. Um, you do get orders that are handwritten on a piece of paper, right? Like a receipt book, like a PO book. They handwrite it, take a picture, and then just email it, hey, process this order for me, right? So that, I mean, you have everything, and you have something, okay, ship it to my warehouse, right? Stuff like that, or charge the card ending in 1234. Um, so there is, again, lots of combinations and permutations, all of above. And then, of course, there are some clean orders as well, where you have a formal PO, which is in a PDF that any regular OCR system can also read and work with it. But uh, real case scenario, that's a low percentage of the orders that we get.
Yeah. I mean, I've a lot of times when you start digging in and you get like the CEOs or like the senior leadership on the call and the customer service starts showing the order, I can't tell you the number of times I've seen genuine anger on the faces of leadership. Like, is this the quality of POs that are being sent to us? We should go back to this customer and tell them like, hey, you can't keep doing this. So the real world scenario is a lot more messy, which is something that where people kind of feel like AI cannot handle this. So I think
Yeah.
a good segue from here would be, Nitesh, maybe just let's walk through together with some of the real POs. Uh, and Nitesh was kind enough to let us use the real that Ella has processed, and also maybe we'll try and show why Ella is being able to do that. So how do you train a system like Ella to be able to manage all of these exceptions? So quickly, at a very high level, Ella does both order entry and is also a quoting assistant. Ella can capture any formats. So it could be a CSV, it could be a handwritten, JPEG image attached to any, or could be, a multi-sheet Excel. So any template you can kind of think of. Ella directly connects to the email. So it can either autonomously read those emails and decide if there's an order and start acting on it, or you can kind of forward it to a dedicated Ella email ID where after which it starts working on that order. Typically takes about, no matter the length of the order, between 1 to 3 minutes to do the entire processing. And then the teams can decide whether they want it to be an autonomous send to the ERP, or there's a review screen where you can check everything before it's sent. This draft review is also where Ella will the mistakes. We see a lot of scenarios, and we'll walk you through some where the MOQ, the customer is not adhering to the MOQ mentioned in the ERP, or the price at which the customer is sending the order is different from the price that you actually have assigned to that customer. So a lot of these mistakes that can seep through are flagged to the order entry reviewer, so that they can take that decision. It could be a mistake, it could be a phone call where they discussed that this is the new price, so we let the human review layer decide what to do with these exceptions. So let's walk through some POs. So this is the first PO. On the left hand side, you can see the real PO, and on the right hand side, you can see what Ella has kind of done with this PO, right? So if you look at this PO, this is a handwritten PO. There is no SKU number matched on the written on this PO. It just says Area Rag, Jaipur Living is the name of the wholesaler, Genesis, Matcha, 8 by 11, and some color and Pantone shades. We'll show you what this actual SKU looks like on the Jaipur Living website. So this is the actual SKU, Genesis GES 11. And as you can see, this SKU has around 4 colors, and then it also has several sizes associated with it. Um, Going back to sort of the order, as you can see, Ella has correctly sort of figured out that, okay, Genesis GS 11 is the right SKU to pick. It has also figured out the right size, 8 by 11. And if you look at the PO and the bottom of the PO on the left hand side, there's a side mark on the PO, which also Ella has correctly added to the order note. So even messy POs without a SKU number, just with the item description, is something Ella can be trained to learn with, and be able to process accurately. Um, we'll maybe go to the next PO. So here, the other thing is that sometimes, after an order comes in, there could be a PDF, but the customer or your team might have discussed other things, right? For example, the customer might just email back and say like, hey, I actually entered wrong quantity. Can you actually give me 20 units instead of 10? Or in this case, for example, we gave additional instructions to Ella, apply a 10% discount on the line item above $2,000. and along with that came in a PO. So Ella is actually able to follow instructions in the email body along with the PDF as well. So once Ella received this email, it took about 2-3 minutes to process the order, and then you can kind of click on this link to review this order. So as you can see here, there are two SKUs. Again, in this PO, there is no SKU number, it's just a name. And in this case, the name matches very closely with the SKU name. But Ella has been able to pick the right SKU, pick the right size. It also has been able to pick kind of the notes. So it says room is the owner's quarters. It's added to the order notes. The first queue is actually above $2,000. So Ella has actually correctly applied a discount as well to it. If you look at the second queue, this is where Ella also flags mistakes. So as you can see, this queue came in at a $900 cost, but the price in the ERP associated with this customer is actually 925. So Ella has flagged that for the human reviewer, and then the reviewer can kind of decide whether to apply this or go ahead with this queue with the price that the customer has mentioned. Um, we are mostly focusing on this queue, but Ella, this form that Ella needs to fill up is completely customizable, and it will match very closely with your ERP template, so the API integration kind of is facilitated smoothly. Let's go to the third order. Now, this one is interesting and like a real life case. So this is the customer has sent one spreadsheet. And if you see the spreadsheet, this one spreadsheet actually consists of like several, 4 to 5 different POs. And this happens real life in a lot of cases, right? So you might be selling through some resellers or sales rep agencies where the agency kind of combined orders from multiple customers and sent you one Excel. So that could be one use case, or the customer just is ordering for several of their stores and just wanted to send one Excel with all the POs linked. Without any additional information, when Ella received this order, it was able to identify that this is in fact multiple POs and not a single PO. So the company or the sales rep processing this doesn't have to do any effort in breaking this into several POs. Ella actually, in fact, went and kind of broke it into four different POs, like you can see here. And just reviewing one of the orders here. Again, Ella has been able to correctly identify SKUs. It also gives additional information to the sales rep if the item is on back order or if the item is out of stock. It kind of tells the sales rep those information. So in case you want to offer an alternate instead or take any kind of decisions, you can do that. One more interesting thing is that Ella will flag errors and warnings above. So if something doesn't match, for example, in this case, the unit price is mentioned as zero. So maybe it's a swatch. In this case, you meant to offer it at zero, but this is not a mistake exactly, and this is not a skew that exists. So it's flagging that it's a warning, and you should kind of look at it. An error is where it's kind of defined that the price or the MOQ or something kind of doesn't match. We will do one more. So this is kind of how you train Ella, right? So Ella comes in with a section called prompt management. So when you hire a new employee, basically if a new employee joins and you put them in the order processing team, there's a lot of hidden and shared language between the customer and the team processing these orders, right? So you will typically in those cases this new person will sit with another order somebody who was doing this job before, and they will explain what does the customer mean when, and different scenarios to them. Ella works very similarly, so you can actually just go into this section and add any number of prompts or rules or scenarios for Ella to adhere to when she's looking at the POs. So for example, it could be something as simple as apply a 4% tax if the amount is to the amount of the order, or hey, if the order is above $5,000, automatically give a 10% discount, to even more complex ones, like this one. Sometimes customers take shortcuts. So if they're ordering three SKUs in the similar family, they will not write the SKU number thrice. They will just say FTR 08, 10, 11. So you can write custom rules like this where, hey, if the customer writes like this, you need to break them into three different SKUs. I have another example where a customer sent in an order, and the product is sold in a set, but the customer broke that set, wrote the same SKU number one, two, three, and just basically mentioned that thrice. So even those kind of situations happen, and then you can actually go into Ella and tell like, hey, this is the customer style of sending this, but this is how you need to kind of read it. So it doesn't need any IT involvement. Actually, the team that is order processing has all of this intelligence in their head, and all it requires is for them to kind of come in here and just write those things in natural language. Yeah, finally, we wanted to show this is a dummy order, but the first thing Ella does is kind of looks at the PO, looks at the email address the PO is coming from, and tries to identify the customer. Customer identification is the most important thing because every other flag like price errors, etc., actually is determined by that. So in this case, Ella looked at, the customer name is basically the logo. So Ella took the logo and was able to map it correctly to the customer. Um, for each of the fields, Ella is giving you a confidence score. So it was correctly able to identify the contact, the shipping address, and also shows you other addresses that might be in your ERP associated with this account in case you want to switch it. Ella can process, like we've seen orders as up to like 200 lines. So small orders, big orders, Ella takes near about the same time. Um, Another thing to note is that sometimes, items, in this case, for example, the fourth SKU, the MOQ is actually not matching, right? So Ella is recommending that, hey, you cannot, this is a set, it comes in IOQs, incremental order quantities of four, but the customer has sent 46. So you should change the quantity to 48 to be able to process this correctly. It's also flagging price discrepancies. And the other thing Ella also does is, in this case, for example, you can see the product below this is actually out of stock, right? Uh, and in case you want to offer an alternate to the customer, you can actually just click here, and Ella will actually recommend alternate SKUs which are very similar to this. Or you can search for all the SKUs in your library and map it. In case Ella also sometimes, in examples we saw before, there were several examples where the SKU names were not mentioned. Ella will try to its best ability to match it to the right SKU. It uses, of course, the description of the product. It also looks at the customer's previous order history to be able to match it. But in case it cannot, it also shows you like what are the other likely matches. So your sales reps can quickly flip to the other alternate matches in case something is unclear. Happy to take a pause. If anybody has any questions, feel free to use the chat and we will try to answer them. Cool. I think Nitesh, the from everything I showed, I think it's one thing is kind of clear. Um, you need your internal team to participate in this process, right? Because there's a lot of shared language, the prompting section that we showed, all of that actually intelligence comes from the current team. One thing I have seen is sometimes, there's a lot of, I think the tech industry has done a very poor job here, and we've created this fear around job loss and AI is going to automate everything and stuff like that. So how did you position Ella internally, both to sort of the people who will be augmented with this tool, and also to your leadership to prove like, this is something that we should invest in?
Yeah, I think, and even when we started talking about Ella right from day one, I think my biggest thing was like to me, this was never about cost savings, right? Or headcount reduction, right? And I think from the start, I've been pretty clear, even when we spoke and even internally when I was talking to our teams as well, and talking to the rest of the leadership team as well, right? Right. So Ella has always been about, you know, increasing the quality of our work in terms of how we are processing the orders and trying to get to a pretty much 100% accuracy when we are processing orders. And the second thing is the speed and the customer experience, right? It really comes down to that, right? So, and when you flip that and tell the team in that manner that this is a tool that's going to help you do work faster, better, and it's better for the customer, you get a much better participation from the team versus them seeing this as a threat, um, that it's going to take our job away, right? And it, and you always need a human in the loop. And I think that's just a misconception that across the board that we often see with AI. And you do read a couple of companies, reducing their team by 50% because of AI. And I think uh, that's just a headline. There's a lot of things below that. And I think that's just a very misconception that AI is going to reduce the workforce. I don't think so. I think it'll probably increase uh, the workforce that we currently have. It's just going to be everybody would be doing something different, right? So now
Yeah,
that's
that's a
that's
good
exactly
segue. So
yeah.
that's the other. This is, I was talking to somebody and I told them like, hey, you can free up their time to do more interesting work. And I got the most interesting pushback. The person said, I don't have any other work for them. So, when you think about this, you think about your order management team, you think about your sales team, how did you position like where they can spend their time? Because say this cuts up about 30-40% of their time that they used to spend in order entry. How are you seeing them adapt to that, time saving, and what other jobs are they picking up?
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton. I mean, there's a lot that once somebody frees up, a lot they can do, right? You have as simple as follow-ups with customers, right? There's a lot of, I mean, we take in a lot of back orders, right? So managing the back orders itself is a big task. And once you have the order management team free from processing orders and managing a lot of the back orders and figuring out how they can get the product faster to the customer, that itself is a huge win for us.
Hmm.
Uh, right? And then overall, and once the team is also less under pressure that, okay, we got 50 orders to process today, and now they know there's an AI that's going to help them, the quality also improves, right, significantly. Like we've previously seen days we get a lot of orders, and we often end up seeing a couple of orders, team make mistake because they're under pressure to process the order before end of day, right? So that we don't get a customer complaint. And whenever that happens, you see a lot of issues, right? So so there are a lot of other benefits underlying that we sometimes often don't see. So um, I mean, and the team who's been doing that for years, they really know what other issues can be in the process where a lot of glitches could happen. A
Hmm.
lot of times customers need help with product recommendation if something is out of stock. So the team just has more time in order to figure out those solutions, right? So they can focus on a lot of the edge cases and um, you know uh, things that would actually add value to the business and the customer.
Got it. Got it. Um, Nitish, walking through sort of the evaluation process, right? And also a little bit of the implementation process. Uh, this kind of technology is very different. It's less deterministic. So the implementation and the review process, I'm sure, was also a bit unique in this case. So talk us through like how were you when you were evaluating, what were you looking for, and what gave you confidence to move forward with WizCommerce, and what was about the implementation journey that kind of made this successful? What did you do internally to ensure that this is implemented correctly?
Yeah, I think for me, when the first time I looked at it, I'm like, okay, this is interesting, and I could see uh, the vision with this in terms of how you and the team had built this. So to me, it was like, okay, I was actually sold on the vision. And to be honest, I knew that there are going to be issues as we try to look into that, because I mean, we just saw, right? There's so many edge cases, right? Customer not sending you a SKU number, and you have to figure all that out, handwritten and all that stuff. So that was there, right? So going into that, like even when I spoke to the team internally, it was first is about setting the right expectation, right? Is I did tell the team that assume that this technology is going to do only the work first 50% right, right? So you set the expectation that it is a new technology, it is AI, right? It is going to make mistakes. That's the first thing, is like telling the team, okay, this is going to do everything correct. And then once they realize, okay, there's still edge cases, so trying that is, the setup is the first thing.
Hmm.
The second is, like you got our team in touch with your tech team, right? So as there were issues, and since our team knew there is somebody hearing what those issues are and solving those in real time, right? I think when we first started, the context window that you showed was not there, right? And then as we saw in our pilot, there were issues, and then you came up with a solution saying that, hey, we need a context for every customer, because every customer behaves a little bit differently, right? So now the knowledge that the order processing person had working with that customer for 10 years, now they're able to put that context in a very simple to use context window. I think that really made the difference, right? So I think it's also about the communication that you set up, right? So the communication that you guys set up with our team made such a big difference, so that build the confidence within our team. Okay, yes, this is something. Yes, it's already the technology is already there. Now it's all about the edge cases. Now they are giving a solution about the edge cases. Sometimes if it's, as we saw, right, the product it was looking at, it gave an error on the product, right? But the team can quickly click on it and then see what are the most other recommended products very quickly. So stuff like that made a big difference in terms
Yeah.
of earning that trust from everybody.
Yeah, I think like I think that's a common learning as we also buy a lot of internal tools, AI tools. I think the demos look almost perfect, and you like real world is very messy. So all the edge cases are what you kind of encounter in the implementation. So I think the learning for us was that this you might have seen the news. Anthropic has FDEs now, and OpenAI is doing this FDE process. But I think we did this from day one that hey, like I think let's just do a pilot first, right? We don't also want to overpromise because your scenarios are different and could be very different. So let's do a pilot. Let's actually see how much we are able to do out of the box and work together to see how much accuracy we can achieve. And there has to be somebody from our side kind of working hand in hand with your team in that process. I think what worked really well in this case was that your team was very open to sharing feedback. They were not shying away from like sharing like, hey, this is not working. And I think because you set the right expectation, they actually were invested in making it a success, because this cannot be successful in isolation. Like my team can't do anything unless that context layer is coming from your team. So I think those expectation setting and making sure that your team is invested in making this work, I think
Yeah.
that kind of makes it very successful.
And 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 just to add to that, it's about setting their KPIs, right? So the team's KPI is to process an order in time or less than expected time and accurately, right? And if they know that this tool is going to help them meet their KPIs, not only meet them but actually exceed it, you get the buy-in from everybody, right? So that
Makes
was the biggest change for us. Yeah.
makes sense. Got it. If anybody has any questions or thoughts, or if your mind is thinking about scenarios of where you can make Ella fail, I mean just send them in the chat, and we'd be happy to look at some of those examples. I think moving from here, we can talk a little bit about ROI and business impact, right? So we will show a slide of what we've seen with Jaipur Living. just to give everybody an indication of like, how powerful the ROI for something like this could be. So, I mean, the ratio might be different for everyone, but basically a standard PO, which is cleaner, has queue numbers, has uh, a lot of the information already in the email body or the purchase order. um, Takes about 10 to 15 minutes to process, and hopefully that's about 75% of your order volume. Difficult POs, messy POs, where the team needs to do a lot of work to like kind of figure it out, takes a little bit more time. And then there's also cost associated, as we said, with rework delays or mistakes. I think the total time recovered by processing about this is for 5,000 orders, is roughly 1,400 hours a month. And so you can think of like the total time the team is saving. And I think the real ROI is that people who sell can sell more rather than doing this work. Plus the improvement in customer service. As we all know, like in wholesale distribution, there is certain segment of your customer that churns away every year. So if you can give them a better service, process things faster, customer service can get back to those customers faster. I think those are additional sort of benefits that you can see with this technology. Perfect. I think this last question, Nitesh. So I'm sure this was like kind of your first project, AI project, or one of the first things you've implemented. Um, where are you kind of seeing what are you seeing in the future? What are the other things that you're focusing on? And can wholesale order entry become even lower touch or no touch in future?
Yeah, I mean, you know, like in future when we think about just in AI in general, right? So I mean, there is a lot that can be done, especially there are different ways that we're looking at it. What are the key customer touch points that could be, that could be uh, where AI could really help and make a difference. Then there are also a lot of internal workflows and internal work that could be further optimized, so that way your team is actually focusing on things that make a difference, that add direct value within the business rather than doing a lot of the same repeat work again and again. So that's you know that's been there. And then order entry, I do feel, as even at I'm assuming some point customers would also start adopting AI, for their own kind of emails or placing orders with suppliers, right? So once that happens, so uh, there is definitely a possibility where I see the order entry would become low touch, but given the business is so relational, right? And the way it is, I don't think there would ever be a time where it's fully no touch. I could say it could definitely become low touch, um, but there are always going to be a need where you need a combination of a tech tool and the human in the loop. So that way, because at the end, we are humans and we're selling to other humans, right? So that piece the technology would never replace.
Yeah. And Nitesh, the similar technology, like, we saw with Ella, where it's able to take a document, like match it, process it into your ERP. Are there any other processes that you see within the company, maybe in purchasing or in other departments, where you think something like this could automate some of those workflows as well?
Yeah, I mean, a ton, right? I mean, the accounts payable, right? Like you get an invoice from a vendor, you can use the similar tech to read incoming invoice, apply to stuff in your ERP and figure out a payment plan and all that stuff, right? So there are that lot of customer questions around what's the status of my order, uh, things like that. So there are various different ways in terms of this could be thought through. This is just the starting point right now.
Got it. Perfect. I think we'll do one quick poll, and then kind of move to the last segment of the webinar. Moving to the kind of the last section. So just to tell the audience, at WizCommerce, we're actually trying to build a lot of basically an AI agent or a co-pilot for each one of your departments. So order entry is one, customer service is one, and always looking to sort of partner with customers who want to automate or supercharge different departments in their team. If order entry is a pain point, and if you kind of resonated with some of the edge cases that we showed you today, we do offer a free proof of concept before you have to commit to anything. So there's a demo link in the chat. Please feel free to book a demo, and we'll be happy to take a look at your processes and customize the solution to your needs. Nitesh, thank you so much for being generous with your time and for letting us actually showcase some of your orders and the actual, sharing with the audience the actual process you kind of went through.
Happy to. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.